Marco.
Sean.
We made it.
We made it.
We
and I
could
hope
actually
you took your lessons. Did you? Oh yeah, you learned Italian already?
I learned
Good.
Italian, yes.
Because I'm still like on the verge if I want to have this in Italian or English.
We should do it in Italian. I'll just sit here and
No. We agree that the crowd is not going to be
All right.
as big, so we'd rather go with a language that most people speak.
Okay.
So you're lucky.
Dutch.
You're lucky. Yeah, we'll speak Dutch. Well, Sean, we're here.
We are in San Francisco, RSAC Conference. Thrilled to be here. Great conversation, great community. That's the theme this year, right? A lot's going on in the world.
Lots going on in the world.
A lot of change happening, a lot of tension happening, a lot of innovation happening, and thankfully a lot of people coming together to kind of make sense of all that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So this year, a theme here at RSA Conference, many voices, one community. And I think that what I've seen so far, and we're just getting started, is that there is people from every part of the world, which is a great thing. It opened up our minds and opened the conversations to a better understanding of how we can all live together.
Which we love. We like that global view.
Right? The global view. So, I'm from Italy. I brought some Italian friends to start. So we got Luigi Martino, which is from the University of Florence. And we had the opportunity to know each other for a long time. And you brought a friend. So very excited to have Luca as well here.
Thank you.
And I would say, Sean, let's just let them introduce themselves.
Yeah, maybe a few words. And Luigi, your center seat there. So maybe we'll start with you, and then Luca, a bit about what you're up to after.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. No, for me it's a very great honor because for the first time I'm attending the RSA physically, and then also for the first time I had the opportunity to have a physical podcast or whatever you want. You can call us you want with the ITSP, because it was a long partnership also with the University of Florence. We work together, and you are very, let's say, in the front line of cybersecurity, even if when the people they don't know what cyber is, and then you start a long time ago. I'm Luigi Martino. I'm professor at the University of Florence and University of Bologna. In Florence, I'm director of the Center for Cybersecurity and International Relations Studies, and also I'm a research scientist at the Khalifa University in Abu Dhabi. But above all, I'm friends of Marco and Sean. It's a very pleasure to be with you here today.
Well, we're glad you came from wherever you arrived from to meet us here, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And when I saw you yesterday, I say bring somebody cool so we can have an all conversation together. And I think Luca, once you introduce yourself,
nobody cooler than Luca.
Nobody cooler than Luca.
The bar is very high. Well, thank you. So I'm Luca Tagliaretti. I'm the director of a new EU body, the European Cybersecurity Competence Centre. New because it's been created in 2021 with a regulation. We like to regulate, but it's only autonomous since the end of September last year. So it's we're the new kid in the block. We are responsible for setting a European strategy on cybersecurity, providing investment on the research and uptake of technology. So a bit setting up the scene to create a long-term strategy in Europe for making the market more resilient, making our digital market more resilient. And then the last part of our responsibility, we mandate to create a community, a European level of all the companies who have a vested interest in cyber. I like now I want to go back to the beginning, so talk about the fact that we are a group of Italians, but I really like the theme of this year, many voices, one community. It really encapsulates well what cyber is, and we are here to look at common solution. We all talk the same language, even though we're coming from different countries. So I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for the invitation.
My first thought is, how is it going to put all these voices together?
Shall I? Well,
yeah,
I think
sure.
it's a long process. It's not something you do overnight. We are now focusing on our languages, so we are 27 member states, so we just focus on the European market. But the process, I see a lot of interest. I see a lot of a very, very rich ecosystem everywhere. Everywhere we go, we see so much interest in what the European Union is doing. I think we need to expand this also to a more global scale, but I think it's going well. I mean, I feel the, positive energy. I don't know how you see from your
No, from my perspective,
observatory.
yeah, from my perspective, is amazing because there is, let's say, the significance of a community. The meaning of a community is here, because we have this topic, this branding and cyber. Without community, you cannot go anywhere. But here is the real place where you can exchange your ideas, you can exchange your also perspective and bad and good experiences in cyber, because it's not about selling product. It's to exchange the point of view, to exchange your best practices, to exchange your also contact at networking level, And then this is something very amazing.
Right. Well, for me, I'm a technologist, and so therefore my brain thinks technology first. But I think technology is also, and when we're talking about cyber technology, it's kind of, even if it's software, it's still a tangible thing. Right? We have conversations around it. Yet there are teams, right? There are policies, there are regulations, there are, what are we trying to accomplish, which is beyond the regulations as well. And I'm curious how, from a skills perspective, how do things look in the European Union in terms of, are we skilling and educating for technology, beyond technology, enough to that entire stack of how the countries run together?
Yeah, I mean, I maybe start, and Luigi, you come from the university, you have for sure a better view there. But I feel it's a multidimensional process. So not just the skill for the students, but also skills across the society. We are mainly focusing on skill for personnel which are already in the industry, those who are already in the job market. How do we upskill them? Right. It's a very difficult achievement. I like to take maybe one example of one thing that we basically very recently took on board, which is support of the cybersecurity challenge. This is a very large exercise, more than 10,000 students. The European level and then the international level, they play, so there is this gamification of the cyber activity. They have captured the flag exercise, they have a number of exercises, and this is I find it a very, very nice way of engaging students. I've been to a couple of their events, and you see an energy that you don't see in other places, which I think it makes me kind of positive about the future. Yeah, that's at least from my point of view. Again, Luigi, you are from the university.
No, from my point of view, of course, the skill shortage is something that we need to consider. But you mentioned, Sean, the regulation, something related, the regulation, and
I'm just thinking it's a conversation we have to have as a big group of people.
Yeah.
So not just can you deploy technologies and protect the business, can you also have a conversation with the business leaders and with government and policymakers and everybody else?
Absolutely. That one of the main points from my perspective is that today definitely we achieve the awareness that cyber is everywhere. Now we are talking about how cyber can impact space, for instance, and how space can have an impact on cyber and vice versa. Then what is the problem that we are dealing today is, for instance, it's true that we have a lot of regulation in cyber sector. Maybe sometime yes, but think about what happened in the space. Today, we are talking about a sort of no man's land or in this sector. Okay, what we have to do? How we can manage this escalation, for instance, etc. Which we need a regulation. At least what we need is to have a clear governance, a clear big picture how to manage certain threats and challenges. Now, without regulation, again, we live in a no man's land, and this is a very, let's say, It's a big
Yeah.
problem, a huge problem. That said, for instance, we have other problem today. How we can deal with the AI, the big elephant in the room, for instance.
The invisible,
Brought it up.
the
Brought it up. Brought
the
up
invisible
AI.
elephant.
Exactly. How
Okay,
we can
let's
deal.
talk about
The
AI.
miniature
exactly.
pink
You brought it
elephants.
up.
How we can deal, for instance, today with AI, and what tomorrow, how we can deal with the quantum. Here, the concept, from my perspective, of course, from my personal perspective, the concept is that when we talk about cyber, we have to consider also the technology landscape. All the technology landscape is related to cyberspace. AI is a new domain. From my perspective, no, it's an evolution of cyber. Quantum, it will be a new domain. From my perspective, no, because it's related to something embedded in cyber. That this means that when we talk about technology, we cannot avoid to consider the cyber perspective.
Yep.
I've had this debate a lot. Is AI different software than regular software?
Yeah.
And
I might
you have to
be-
treat it
yeah.
differently, or do you treat it the same? And
Yeah. I might be not very popular, but I like regulation. Maybe that's the way that I come from.
They
I
guide
mean,
you.
I can't say something else, but I think in the case of the AI Act, for example, if you take the one of it,
right.
I like the way that it is designed to give just guidelines. These are just like broad area where you could operate, and it's only applicable to the to distribution of technology, not to the development. You can do research in all kinds of parts of AI. When you put into the market, you need to think about who is the final user, the citizen, the human being. How do we ensure that this is not used in a way that put our life at risk? So I think it's a great piece of legislation. There might be different view, but it took a long time, but I think it was a good job of protecting finally the citizen. I mean, we need to look at the final user.
So we talk about guardrail, right? Like I
Yeah.
think like it's the very common way to do
Guardrail
it
is a
because I
good-
think
yeah.
it's a softer view and approach.
Yeah.
It's like it's regulation, but we're not
Yeah.
like really
Yeah.
telling you what.
Yeah.
We're just giving you guidelines.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's a good idea. For me, first of all, like from an ethical perspective, for sure, privacy, identity, and all the social aspect of it, it's necessary. Other people already feel like, yeah, but that even some regulation is going to stiff innovation. How do you feel about that?
So I feel that this is an excuse that I often hear, that the regulation is blocking innovation.
Yeah.
Because if I'm looking at other fields where we are regulated, we also innovate.
Yeah.
Chemical industry, pharmaceutical. If I'm looking at what happened, the transition from Nokia and Ericsson to iPhone is not because we had a regulation. There's something else. So the regulation is often used as an excuse. Okay, you could there might be some area where this will slow down your process, but that's not the main reason for why we don't have AI, for example, as you have in the US. So that's my view.
is it? You think it's an immoral, unethical excuse? They're trying to be.
No,
lenient,
I think
or-
it's just.
They just don't want to be regulated.
Yeah, there's always. It's easy because it's a visible element there, and of those who are a bit detractor of the union see this as a stiffing the ability to innovate. So I think that's one angle.
Yeah, I think that the most important thing here is to consider, okay, what is the cost of regulation for who? For the market. Okay, but how we can balance the cost of regulation with the benefit for citizens and, for instance, for the society? Then is a regulation a problem? Not for sure, because we need guidelines, we need also, let's say, red lines, we need someone that is able to implement check and balances. This is something good, of course. Maybe from my perspective, what is very impacting in this sector, in technology sector, is a bureaucracy.
Okay,
which is
But
different.
that's more.
Is
yeah, this I
different.
agree.
Is the
That's correct.
collateral effect
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
of regulation. This means that if we don't have, for instance, public administration or public servant able to consider that if we deal with technologies, not the same to deal with old style stuff, then you need a new mindset. That's a point. But it's not a regulation per se. It's how you implement the regulation. Indeed, for instance, if we think about the European Union, today we have 27 different situations in certain field related to a single directives, for instance. But if you look what was very interesting at the European Union with the regulation, which is different of the directive, with the GDPR, it's something that it was implemented and then it was used also the best model at international level. It's a regulation. The difference, of course, is we talk about the cost of bureaucracy.
Right.
It's a huge. The cost of limit the market.
The notification.
Exactly. This is something different about the regulation. But we need a regulatory body. We need, for instance, to think about what are the collateral effects related to technology, the dark side. What are, for instance, ethical problems when we talk about AI? Is AI a problem? Of course, yes, potentially yes. Because if we invent AI, we invent also the incident related to AI. One of the funny story here, it's a very impressive, that when I arrived here I saw some cars. Then the first time I was shocked that I saw this car without, driverless. Then I said in this way, okay, what happened? Maybe it's my jet lag that is doing something.
They had already last year.
Then I double checked. And then, it's amazing. But do you have driverless car here because you don't have regulation? I think no. You have here because you have a friendly also government, which is more oriented on technology, but it's able also to manage the regulation to protect citizens. If I cross the road, I know that we implemented certain regulations.
It's a very interesting.
That's the point. How we can balance regulation.
I notice how people behave different with Waymo because the driver does not get offended, so you can cut him off. It's very different the way you interact. But then I saw someone else leaving the car and then they say bye-bye. So there is a way of humanizing also the machine.
You anthropomorphize everything.
but I'm interested to know what's your view on the regulation, Sean and...
I don't know. I just have a thought.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, Waymo in Rome.
Right.
Why not? Why not?
And the relationship between, the way that we handle the driving in Italy.
Maybe you can.
Maybe it gets a very polite driving.
Maybe we all get a little nicer because we don't have anybody to offend in the street.
You don't.
Someone that respects the rules.
It's not personal. So I like that.
So I'm going to answer your question quickly.
Yes.
We only have 1 minute to close here. So I'm going to say I'm in favor of regulation if the bureaucracy doesn't get in the way and the cost doesn't inhibit smaller organizations to innovate. If we leave it to only the big ones, I think we're in trouble. And I think to enable companies to innovate, like you described, to be favorable toward innovation in a secure way, I think is good with delivering frameworks and enabling tools and technologies and processes. I think that's not very short. So maybe as a final thought now, one thing that you hope to take from this community this week from the conference, if you can bring one thing back to home, what would that be?
For me, it's always the sense of unity. So the main takeaway here is how can we do more together? How can we benefit of each other's experience? How can we build on each other know-how to be better prepared for our challenge? I see that's the main, because technology is important. You can always do this online and look at research new idea, but it's the sense of community is important.
Yeah, my perspective, I want to use the motto of San Francisco. San Francisco is the city of first, first of everything. That's it. Here, what is very impressive that you can touch with your hand the innovation. the innovative environment where people, they don't care about, you know, I don't want to share this idea, maybe someone will copy or not. It's open. It's like open source,
Good
community.
Good point.
And that's very interesting. As a similarity, we have also this similar conference, for instance, in Dubai, JISEC, which is a very huge conference. I recommend you to be there. It's another very interesting concept. You know, for me, it's that one, innovation and sharing
The
information.
combination of the tools.
Very good.
We have to close.
you.
So I'll,
Yeah,
I'll
well,
leave
we
it
have
with
to
you.
close. So I want to thank everybody here
Very enjoyable.
and enjoy the time here.
you.
Yes.
Make the best out of it, and we'll have the conversation. We're going to keep going, even if we're
Yes.
not here in San Francisco.
Yes.
So
Maybe
thank
we'll
you,
do the
everybody.
next one in Florence.
Yep.
Yes,
Thank you,
why not?
everybody. Stay tuned
Thank
for
you,
many
everyone.
more
Thanks.
conversations.
Thank you.
Thanks.
ITSPmagazine.com/RSAC25 for all of our coverage. Stay tuned.